if Invicta has made Cyborg the main pay-per-view draw of all their cards, then UFC will be more than happy to scoop her back up.
Yeah, exactly. I do, while we're on the subject of women's MMA, I just want to send out my sincere hopes and wishes that we never, ever see Fallon Fox in Invicta or UFC. I would never argue with anybody's right to change their gender and be recognized as the gender of their choice, but this is such an obvious case of female mixed martial artists being sacrificed on the altar of political correctness and women being brutally knocked out by someone who has the strength and heart-lung capacity of a man. And I'm sorry, I do not agree that a few hormone shots are going to automatically roll back the accrued tendon strength and heart-lung capacity and bone structure of what is in some ways a physical man. Fallon Fox is definitely a woman, and should be recognized as such, except for the purposes of combat sport. And I never, ever want to see her fighting in an MMA cage again, because this is an absolutely ridiculous thing that's dangerous, and it's coming along at a very, very tough time. Women's MMA was seen as a freak show and a sideshow for a long time, being openly disparaged by Dana White, who, people all over the world respect as an authority of mixed martial arts. Thanks largely to the Ronda Rousey phenomenon and athletes like Liz Carmouche stepping up to help Rousey push the sport forward. It's finally just starting to be recognized as a legitimate sport, and now we have this catastrophe happening. And if Fallon Fox is allowed to compete in the sport of mixed martial arts, it is going to encourage people who might otherwise have looked at the sport in a better light to see it once again as a circus sideshow and write it off.
Were you surprised that Mitrione was suspended for his comments about Fallon Fox?
No, I think he went a bit too far. I think his kind. I'm a fan of Matt Mitrione, but I think that when you start personally attacking Fox, and I'm very angry with her for continuing to want to compete in MMA, and I'm very angry about her lying on her medical disclosure forms in previous fights about having been a man before. But at the same time, I'm not going to call her a freak. I'm not going to call her a dude without a dick. It's an emotional roller because it's a very, very tough thing, and a person needs a lot of dedication and a lot of self-awareness and a lot of strength of character to realize they're living in the wrong body and to be willing to put up with the social stigma of switching their gender and go through all the surgeries and go through all the treatments and do all that. So for all that, I take my hat off to her, and she deserves to be recognized as a woman, except in this case. And this is political correct bullshit where nobody can ever get their feelings hurt and everybody has to be included in everything. And you know what? If that's the case, then fine. I've decided that I'm a Jamaican sprinter in a big fat white man's body, so now I want to be running the Olympic 100 meters against Usain Bolt, except he has to run backward and I can run forward, because apparently we get to tailor the sport to suit individual athletes who complain loudly enough. It's fucked up. I don't disagree with Matt Mitrione getting a slap on the wrist. I hope it's not too bad where we don't see him for a long time, but I do think that he went a little bit too far, but I agree with his sentiment, which is that Fallon Fox does not belong in women's MMA.
When I saw this, his story starting to develop, and they were saying how, she's undefeated, she's 2-0, while her combined record of the opponents, they're both winless fighters. She hasn't fought any really serious competition yet in the women's ranks. I'm thinking once she fights someone who has, one victory in the win column, maybe the hype will die down and she'll lose. I don't know, but I don't think we'll ever see her in UFC or Invicta, but maybe some lower level stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not our call.
Peter, she's got to fight at champion. Yeah, she's got Championship Fights 11 coming up on Access TV. So that's the highest.
Right. I want to clear some stuff up regarding her. She's actually, including her amateur fight, she's 5-0, and none of her fights have even reached the middle of the first round. Plus, I spoke with Jeff Osborne about her because I watched a news segment on her, and there was a hook and shoot belt in her trophy case. So I called him up to see what the deal was, and he said that that was won at a grappling tournament, a women's grappling tournament that he held, that she joined. She did not tell him that she used to be a man either, and he said, dude, she was tearing women apart on the mat. He said it was brutal. She was by far from the best technician there, but it didn't matter. She was just dismantling people to the point that when it came time for the absolute division, one of the lighter weight class winners who was tremendously skilled. Jeff refused to let her fight in the absolute because he said, I'm not putting you on the mat with Fallon Fox. You are the better grappler, but she is just going to gorilla press you over her head or rip you to pieces or whatever.